Yo, what's going on, guys? Feels like it's been a minute, to say the least. Back here on another episode of the CTWpodcast. As always, the very, very, very joyful Jason Freiert is with me. Jason, what's up, buddy?
What's up? It has been a while, man. It has.
Yeah, I mean, we can even touch base on that a little bit. And bottom line to it really is that I haven't done a very good job of prioritizing my time. We can say there's a lot of things that are happening, and people know both my professional and personal life. There's some good things going on, but time consuming stuff. But the bottom line is, I think that we, and especially I, need to work a little harder to get this going on a more consistent basis. Now that looks like we have a couple of events coming up pretty soon, there's going to be a whole lot to talk about. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, I think moving forward, we just need to do a little better time with our getting these things out consistently.
It's all right. I think it'll build anticipation, right? So, today we've got Keith Watson and Shawn Girch on to talk about the Franklin Fall Showcase. Waddy, you want to explain what the event is and, when it's going to happen and all that?
Sure. So the event is essentially what we're hoping to get were the best wrestlers, regardless of age, school affiliation, and so on, against each other, and get a dozen or maybe even 24 matches. And it originally came from the fact that the Maryland All-Star Classic or All-Star Show, I can't remember what we call it, I guess All-Star Classic, started to fall apart. And some of the old dogs will say, "Oh no, that was a great thing." Well, it was a great thing for a while. Then towards the end, and I was the coach for the private schools a couple of times, it was like pulling teeth to get people to participate. They didn't want to put their 40-0 record on the line and wind up being potentially 40-1. Then you had the disparity in the ends of the season. MPSSAA ended like the weekend before the event, and the private schools ended 2 weeks before. And things like that. So it just was becoming harder and harder to get people to participate. And I looked around when I became chairman of the MSWA, and I said, well, the NWCA works with the NCAA to do something preseason. Why can't we do that? So I called Andy Warner from the MPSSAA and basically said, this is my idea. What do I need to do to make sure we stay in the good graces of the MPSSAA? And long and short of it is, open it to everybody, which was really simple because only the bad guys wrestle in the fall. So you weren't going to wind up with a bunch of weak sisters out there wanting mat time, or worse than that, mom or dad is insisting that their kid get out there and get his brains beat out and waste everybody's time. So that was the easy one to get over. So we just put it out there to everybody. The trick was to make the matchups, and one of the things we run into is parents want their kids to wrestle a bad guy every time out. Most kids do not want to wrestle a bad guy most times. Every once in a while, they'll take a tough match, but they're not looking for it every time. You got one or two kids, like I had Hunter Ritter. Hunter Ritter wrestled just about anybody anytime, but even trying to get him against Miles Martin. And Miles against Hunter, they didn't want to wrestle each other. So those guys they're not always looking for that. And so when we started putting this together, one of the things we had to do is say, this is not part of your season. It's not sanctioned by the FPSSAA or the MIAA or whatever other league. It's an MSWA thing. It's USA Wrestling. So it's not going to go on your permanent record, so to speak. So then we had to wade through the dads that wanted their kid to do it. And then, mainly the hard part was the junior league getting the junior league matches, because that's usually parent driven, and then you get into all this fighting on the internet, and my kid's better than yours, and I'll wrestle anybody as long as there's somebody my kid can beat. That kind of mentality. You see it all the time. I mean, it's crazy. But at the end of the day, Brian Hamper, basically this time around, Brian Hamper took it over and made it his baby. And Hamper comes from MMA production, promotion, and so on. And he's, we have limitations. Last year, I think, Jill Gabrielson and Ryan did did a pretty good job of putting everything together, but there were constraints. We had people sort of fell off that had promised to do one thing or another, and it's kind of like, if you put this in the hands of somebody that just does this, you're going to wind up with a better product. And so my thought was, and you guys backed it up, talking to you, to Mackin and Jason and Hamper, is that we can do this thing if you just let us do it. Like, say, here are the guidelines, here's the pocketbook, let's get her done. Do you want to do it Mickey Mouse and half-ass, or are you looking to try to hit it out of the park? And as soon as Hamper said, we can make this like a UFC event, I'm like, all right, we got to figure out a way to get this done just that way, because that's high quality. People are, theoretically, we get this done one time, now we're going to have the opposite problem, but people are going to be climbing into the octagon. We're not going to be able to keep them away, because wrestlers are narcissists. They all want to be in front of the big crowd. They want to be, showcased. And when we show them nice production and 3 cameras and commentators and interviews, I got to think that they're going to want to dive right in next year. It's going to be hard to keep them away.
Yeah, hopefully, Mac and me and you are scheduled to be the, I don't know what you would call it, play-by-play announcers for that. So
I think I'm giving you play-by-play. I'm going to take the color.
Oh, you're the color? Okay, I think that works out better. I think that.
Yeah. Otherwise, I need to go buy a book and start researching moves, so I know what the name of all these things these advanced kids are hitting. So no, and it doesn't seem like it is too tough to get people to do it this year. Over 30 matches on the card. Unbelievable job by Brian Hamper. Like you said before, in the previous years, thank God for Joe Gabrielson last year. I know that was matchmaking was something that that I was involved in the previous years. And you could tell by the junior league representation last year, that was a big complaint. Not enough junior league wrestlers on it. Well, I didn't do a good enough job reaching out to the coaches, and Joe came on board, to help out just a little bit later and almost salvage it in a way, and improve all my mistakes. So it was, I thought it was a great job last year, but definitely stepping up this year for sure.
So here we are. We're on the verge of this thing. And Brian came at this with, initially he had all these ideas and things. I don't speak the language. I'm the 60-year-old guy sitting back here. I don't understand what's a Rokfin. I understand flow wrestling because I got dragged into it, kicking and screaming. But the whole thing totally makes sense. It's like, if you want to do something high quality, but you don't have a whole lot of money, you can do it, but you got to do it this way. And Brian knows how to do it. So he laid it out there, and it just seemed like a no-brainer. I feel like, we have moved from something that was good initially, maybe back in the early 90s or late 80s. Then it started to fall apart. I mean, I know that once I became involved, like I was Jeremiah Albright's coach when he did it. The first time I did it, I was the coach in the corner, and I think that was like, I can't remember, like
98.
98?
Yeah, I think it was 98.
Like even then, that was at Hopkins. So you had full stands, but it was a weird environment. And then it went to River Hill, and then it just seemed to be harder and harder to get people to participate.
Well, this year though, just by necessity with the COVID, it forced the streaming angle, right? Because you can't get into a school or even a traditional facility and pack them in there and have this like sort of event. So, but I think in a way, it's gonna, it's a way to sort of try out this new sort of format that seems to be being popular. Shawn, you want to talk about, CTW's involvement and how that came about?
Yeah. So, did you want to say something, Mackin?
No, I'm just saying maybe an introduction of the guest first. I don't even think that we said that we were here with them, but Shawn Girch, who runs Champions That Wrestle, also started the Champions Training Center and over in Eldersburg, and that's going to be hosting the event the next weekend. So Shawn did a lot of work to get this thing together. So I'm sure that there's so much more that goes into it than we realize. So yeah, definitely talk about that a little bit, and kind of getting everything in place so that we could have this event here.
Yeah, so I mean, I think like many of you guys, I'm kind of a sucker, and I get pulled into things way too much. We had this conversation about how can we improve this event, and so I've been working with Hamper throughout the whole process, trying to make sure all the logistics are ready. It looks like we're set to go. I met with the production crew last week. Everything streamed well, so we should be good. We have 9 of the junior league matches, and then I believe we have 21 high school matches, and that kind of came out of the working with the MPSSAA and allowing everybody that wants a match to get a match if there was another person. So that's kind of the thing, is we want to work together with everybody in the state, kind of work to grow the sport, and we don't want to kind of go behind the high school kids, and put them in any harm with their careers. So that is why we have so many matches. I think that the format of having an undercard of junior league and then a main card of the high school is going to work well with the Johnny Erickson Award in between it. And we also, because it is preseason, are going to make sure that the period lengths are a little bit shorter, because we know that not every kid has had an opportunity to kind of work out with COVID, or just because it's preseason. But our involvement kind of came because, Mackin and I a few years ago kind of reached out and said, hey, what can we do to help? And, that's where we started talking with Waddy. And then we got Jason Freiert to come on board and help out with some tournaments and things like that. So we kind of are just kind of pushing opportunities. And we said to the MSWA, let's make this thing big. Let's make it an event that people are going to remember. And I think in June, I started trying to figure out where we're going to, have our junior league practices. And that kind of got us to this point where we leased a warehouse space, kind of fixed it up, made it into like this training center that's it's been working really well. The kids are excited to have a place to work out. And I'm excited to be able to give these opportunities, honestly, to people around the state. So it's not like a club that we're trying to have. It's more of a training center where people can come and actually, have some competition against each other. And it kind of became the only place that we can have for the showcase. So that's really how it started. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be, I think, a great event. It's definitely new. We have partnered with a local restaurant that people can where they're going to stream the event for us there as well. So that's another opportunity, kind of working with the community to allow people to see it that might not see this event. And then obviously just regulating how many people are in one place at a time, so that we are with the health code regulations.
Nice.
It's funny, a lot of people are on, you get on the internet and you can talk, make all these criticisms and stuff, but people have no idea what goes into these types of things, especially this year with COVID and all this kind of stuff. So anybody who's out there critical, just pound sand, because there's a lot of people just doing a lot of this, not getting paid for it, in order to provide these opportunities. And, Gerch, you've been sort of definitely an unsung hero in all of this going in, because, there's several events that are planned for that facility. And I mean, for all we know, there's only a handful of places out there that are even allowing or able to be conducive to this thing. I think there's a lot more up in Pennsylvania and all that kind of stuff, but for Maryland, it's few and far between. And fortunately, CTW has made this happen.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm happy that we can all kind of come together. And again, CTW is all about opportunities. That's what we always say. So I think that's really what it is having a place that we can have the opportunity to compete against one another and not just practice all year.
No,
Can I
and
hop
just
in
so
real
it,
quick?
go for it, buddy.
Just one thing, a little more about Shawn is, like you talk about an unsung hero. He's he's behind the scenes, staying away from the spotlight, just taking care of business. And when we started talking, I guess it's probably been 2 years ago now, about and with Ryan about the CTW concept and like how can MSWA help CTW but take advantage of CTW, because you guys you're doing something that we should be doing to an extent. We just don't have the manpower to do it, and we've kind of
No, we don't either.
Well,
Yeah, but I mean, it's a good mix because you don't have to. I mean, the board is for CTW is sitting right here, and there's not a lot of, there's a little bit less red tape that gets that can happen to get stuff done. So I think it's good to have relationships with larger MSWA is under USA Wrestling, and there's certain things that have to do that CTW doesn't have to deal with, and that's one thing with these private clubs popping up too, is you get a lot more flexibility. And in this COVID time, like, you have to have that because public schools ain't doing shit right now.
Well, but us partnering up with CTW in a couple of things, mainly it really started with the singlets and so on. Shawn's got an ability to do some like graphic design work and so on and so forth. And that led to something. I mean, basically, he and I were doing the same thing with the inexpensive singlets, except he had the ability to do the artwork. I'm like, well, why wouldn't you just do it for us? We'll buy our stuff from you. You mark it up. You can make the money. It's one less thing I got to worry about. So it's a win-win. And it just snowballed from there. Now, when it comes to the showcase, my idea initially was, how can we get these kids to want to participate in this event? Well, give them a singlet. Because I had, like, Hunter Ritter was in the Who's Number One, and the box of stuff that he got from there, I was like, okay, I mean, I'm not going to be out there hustling people to donate, headphones and all, so on and so forth.
What did they get for that? They get headphones?
They got, Beats, that's what it was.
No way.
He got a big gym bag full of stuff. But anyway, so I'm like, well, we can give a singlet, and, we're getting those singlets for next to nothing. And Shawn was able to come up with a cool design, and people want the singlet. So now we've got kids that, as long as they have a current USA membership, they can participate in this event. As long as we can also get them a match, we got to find somebody that can match up with them, and they get a singlet. And that singlet, I would assume, in 10 years, a kid that's been out of school will hopefully be wrestling in an open tournament, and they'll be wearing that singlet and be proud to be wearing it. And it'll mean something.
Do we want to touch on some of the sort of premier matchups that we got scheduled for this bad boy? Is there anyone that everybody's sort of talking about?
Well, one that people might not know, and it came due to injury, unfortunately. I think Guntag from BCC got injured at Super 32, so he had to drop out. And Meyer Shapiro decided to go ahead and take that spot and bump up, I think, weight class or two in order to get a match. That's a kid that is really doing anything and everything, and is pretty humble with working out. I saw him working out with Jesse Delgado the other week when he was up at our place, and obviously Delgado's not in it 100%, but you would not have known that's a sophomore in high school going against a two-time national champion, because it was cool to watch. So he's definitely a premier athlete coming in there.
And I got to think that when you put an event like this together, although it's open to everybody, Meyer Shapiro is somebody that you want on the card, right? Like, that's a guy that you want to get on there, one of the state's best. We want everybody to have the opportunity, but we want to start at the top and have the best guys go out there and showcase their stuff against another stud in the state.
Yeah, and I think Waddy kind of alluded to this, is the guys that are trying to wrestle right now are those premier guys. So it's not like we have to reach out to them, because one, we're not allowed to, and two, it's a lot of effort to do that. So we put out there who wants to wrestle. People put their name into the Google form, and it's cool. We got to match up almost everybody. He originally was not going to be on it because we couldn't find somebody that was his weight that was able to wrestle. But he said when this one guy dropped out, I'll take it. He just wants to be on the mat. So
That's awesome.
That was really cool. Yeah.
Is there a main event for this one, buddy? I know a couple of years ago we had Asper and Downey as kind of a premier match. Was there any attempt, or was that a little bit difficult with all that's going on, like on the senior level, and the Olympics being pushed back and everything to get some open division guys?
Well, we reached out to Navy, talked to Jay Antonelli. He had a couple guys who were interested. University of Maryland is not ready. They have the COVID restrictions that they haven't been doing anything. I guess they just recently started. And then I talked to the University of Pennsylvania's RTC, and we just couldn't make it happen. We didn't have the Downey Asper, two locals. We just didn't have those kind of guys available. So we went to the RTCs, and I think it's just a combination of the COVID problems and just matching people up. There's just aren't that
I
many
think
people on that level doing that.
The price tag on some of this stuff has gone up. I mean, people are, which is great for the sport. I mean, people are getting significant amounts of money now to do these events. I know
absolutely
this is not like a Flow or the Nittany Lion wrestling club or Hawkeye Wrestling Club type event. It's a local Maryland event, but people are, and as well they should, are getting paid to wrestle, and that's great. I mean, hopefully at some point this event can pull something like this. But I also think it's cool to just highlight the local high school and junior league. I mean, we got some tough. I mean, like you said, Meyer Shapiro ranked. We got Keontae Hamilton is ranked top 3 in the country. I think one of the main events, it looks like, is Richard Fedelen versus James Rivera. Should be a tough one. I know that's towards the end of the night.
Yeah, what do you guys think about that one?
Well, I can tell you that I go back to when Rivera wrestled the kid from St. Paul's,
Guida on the first. That was the first ever event, the first ever Franklin Falls showcase,
right.
At least I believe.
Right, that was at Gilman, and I mean, they were going at it nice for about 30 seconds, and then boom, just ended.
Yeah.
I always felt like, I've been knowing James since he was, I guess, in like 7th grade, 6th grade. He's from our backyard here up in Hartford County. And I always thought, man, that just, because he just doesn't, I mean, he loses here and there, but it's to the big dogs, and it's usually out of state. But he came roaring back, wound up being, I think he probably was undefeated the rest of the season, in the regular season, and won the states, and then basically did the same thing last year. And now he's taking his, he's taking another shot. And I mean, I saw at Fedelen at Fargo. I've seen him wrestle a few times in folk style, but I really saw him several times in Fargo. And he has that workman-like way of going about things. He just comes, sets his lunchbox down, does his job, picks the lunchbox up. I saw him get the lose when he was a freshman. He lost his first freestyle match, and I'm pretty sure he ran off like 7 wins in a row to get 3rd, something like that. I can't remember exactly.
Wow.
It was impressive. So I think James is like, I do not want to go out with 2 losses in the showcase. And Fedelen is, you got to get through me to keep that from happening. Fedelen's no joke, and James is no joke. You walk in, James is a very powerful little 130-pound kid or guy, man. So that's a match I'd be looking forward to, as well as the 2 girls. Yep. Jalen just went down and became, I guess you'd say she was an OW at Super 32, like the upper weight OW for girls.
Yeah, man. Maryland had 2 women's Super 32 champs. Pretty cool there. And I think
and her opponent got 3rd.
She took 3rd too, right? Yeah, I mean, like,
right.
There was great representation from the Maryland girls.
And Jalen is kind of new in comparison to Seta. Seta's got, I don't know, maybe 6-8 years under her belt, and Jalen's got maybe 2-3. There's a size difference, height-wise, but weight-wise, they're going to be close. Then there's the, I've been around this a little longer, and Jalen seems to be, from what I've seen, she's a little bit more of a clubber. and Seta's got a little more slick. I think it'd be a great match.
Now, Seta competed last year, correct?
I think she wrestled Maggie Palmore, didn't she?
I'm sorry?
I think she wrestled Maggie Palmore, who has since graduated. Yeah,
I thought it was Sawyer Graham that wrestled her, but I could be wrong. I might be wrong about that.
Right, I could be wrong. I don't remember.
But yeah, I think she's returning and is a veteran, I believe, of the Franklin Falls Showcase. Yeah, Jalen, she's really turned it up. The first time, and Gerch, I think you were there when she was her first year wrestling for Randallstown. I mean, you could tell there's something special about her. Now, she was wrestling against boys at that time on varsity, and you could just tell that she was going to take to the sport like a fish takes to water. And yeah, I mean, obviously, all her hard work's paying off. She's been, we were running the training sessions out of ground control, was a regular there for those things, and just, I mean, completely hard nosed, and love the way that she gets after it.
Another matchup is one from last year that really went down to the wire, was Riho versus Lawrence. Yep. We're getting a rematch of that. And that was probably, I would say, the best match last year. And it was exciting to watch. So it's really cool. The other thing that I noticed from these are some of the kids that step up during this and then end up having great seasons, and this is the catalyst to it. So there are definitely guys on there like Jamal Everett, who we know has been working out really hard. He's on it again. Last year he stepped up, he did really well, and then ended up placing at the state tournament. So there's definitely those guys that are stepping up.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see where you're at prior to the season. This is going to be an odd season coming up, but you get a stake of, going against another top guy and be like, okay, I gotta work on this, or just understanding that you can hang with the top guys too.
And so one of the other matches that I'm looking forward to, just because I love to see the big guys.
I mean, it's going to be a great event.
Get after it, is Keontae Hamilton against, and I can't remember the kid's name.
Sam O'Brien.
Okay. And,
on Damascus kid.
On paper, should be a total mismatch. Right, but you got like a farm boy, hard nosed mentality against a guy that's got a lot of slick, a lot of time on the mat. I mean, it just should be interesting. I don't have a dog in the fight. I just want to see guys get busy, and it'd be awesome if it wound up being like 7-6 and overtime. But I think it could be an interesting match, and the time of back when like when Carl Green was wrestling, and there was two big guys pushing to shove it, and the first guy to be a mistake lost. Now you got two athletic, strapping young fellas that can get busy and move around. And I'm seeing Keontae with the super ducks and things like that. And it's like, man, this guy weighs 250 and he's hitting these smooth moves.
His tilts on top are ridiculous. Like the way he goes to work on top is impressive. It's not your average upper weight right there wrestling. There's a lot to like about that kid.
So I think that's a match that I'm looking forward to seeing. But I also like the idea of, personally, I love the idea of the private school kids against the public school kids in a situation where it's just a match. You know what I mean? I mean, they want to wrestle each other. They want to see who can take the other one. But you don't have, so let's say Gilman sitting over here, and the school's got nothing on the line. You got two guys doing it, not Gilman versus Damascus, let's say.
Right.
It's just two guys that wrestle. Doesn't matter what school they go to.
We should talk about, just before you get into that, is how you're going to watch it is on Rokfin, right? So you have to sign up. You can sign up, I think, through, I mean, you can do anything, but you should sign up through the Safe Wrestling thing, and we'll post a link for it. And it's not like you get just this event, right? You can have like the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club did their thing, and there's other stuff on there that you get for purchasing the subscription, right?
Well, I believe you can watch our match,
Rokfin,
our event, and then you get another month worth.
Right. So it's like a monthly subscription, I think $10, and then you get whatever else is on there. So I think it's a pretty good deal, for this. And if you actually go to the event, you're gonna probably spend that in gas and entry fee and getting a hot dog too. So.
Yeah, I mean, think of Rokfin very similar to Netflix. You pay a monthly subscription and you get to watch everything that's on it. So that's kind of how it's working. The benefit of subscribing through Save Wrestling is all of that's coming right back to what we're doing here. It's going to wrestling initiatives and not just local ones, but across the country. So that's the benefit of doing it through that one particular platform. But anyone you do, you're going to be able to watch it. Some people already have, Rokfin accounts, so you don't need to do anything. You're good. You're good to go. Nothing extra. So that's it's definitely a different way of doing this, and we've kind of seen that the training centers, the regional training centers, are kind of doing it, and it's working. So hopefully it works for us.
Now, do you foresee this just being an annual thing, or do you think this is the type of event that you could have a couple of times a year, especially with the state of, how high school athletics seems to be going with so many limitations? You think this is a one and done type thing until next year, or, could you foresee us having something like this in the winter, in the spring, or a couple of times?
So there has been talk about doing multiple ones of these. There's been a lot more of since we closed registration, there's been a lot more people reach out and say, hey, how can I get involved? I want to get a match. So there's definitely opportunity, and there's definitely enough wrestlers that want to do it.
But that being said, you got to look at the finances. If it's going to be $5,000 to $10,000 to put these on every time, the MSWA is not going to, that's not our mission. Our mission is not to entertain, it's to provide opportunities and so on. And we just, unless we come up with some kind of a big sponsor or something like that, I don't see it. I can see it maybe coming off twice a year, but I don't see it any more than that. And once we get back to normal, it's assuming that happens at some point, there may not be the need for it, because we'll be back to, regular dual meets, regular tournaments, and then the championship part of the season, and then we're going to freestyle and Greco. So where do you fit it in? But now, because we've got limited opportunities, and regardless of what you hear now from the MPSSAA and the MIAA, you don't know where things are going. I heard the other day that the MIAA is telling each school there will be no MIAA season, but St. Joe, just go ahead and set up a schedule. McDonald's.
Yeah, it's like open scheduling. So
right.
Yeah.
So this is just one of those years.
Waddy, we're never going back to normal, dude. We're never. I'm convinced it's never going to happen.
Never going to?
No, it's just going to be like this forever. That's what
I heard. After the election, everything would be normal again.
Yeah. The
election's not even over.
Yeah,
the election's not over yet.
Yeah, right.
Shawn, any chance we can take a look at the singlet?
I don't have it with me.
We'll put it up.
You can't put one on real quick and model?
Yeah, you're not wearing it?
No.
Right there.
Unfortunately, I'm on my planning period right now. So that's.
Are you wearing pants though?
Yes, because I had to come into school. So.
But no, it's definitely cool. I'm really excited that you guys are working together to kind of bring us, still give the kids the opportunity to wrestle, bring us top-notch events that we can watch. Now, like at the training center, Gerch, or is it we're not allowing people to come in attendance? Is that correct? Or just
that's
parents?
Right.
Or okay. And
yeah,
the only way to see it.
Only one person, either a coach or a parent, is allowed to attend with the wrestler. Unfortunately, as much as we want to be able to have everybody come and support the wrestler, it's this year it's just not able to happen. We have, like I said, partnered with a local restaurant that some of them will be able to go down the street and watch it. It'll be streamed there, and then obviously the Rokfin platform is kind of what we set up. So we tried to make it as friendly as possible to support Maryland wrestling. It's just we can't have people come in, unfortunately, this year.
I mean, there's been some stuff, some clinics, and maybe some like sort of unofficial like club dual meets and stuff. But as far as tournaments, like that's it. And so that's going to be a big test, I think. And this showcase is, you're not allowed in unless you're sort of invited. And and with the strict COVID protocols. And I think it's going to be, it's going to go off, and I'm sure it'll go off great. But it's sort of like we're dipping our toes in the water with this. I mean, Pennsylvania has been fine, but you also have these like super mega like tyrant wrestling tournaments up there that are getting canceled and like shut down and calling the health department and shit. So I think Maryland's doing it correct in like sort of slowly, and hopefully everything goes off well this week. And, speaking of that, Waddy, do you want to touch on the club championships planned for, December 19th?
19th, 20, 21. That it's not a dual meet event. Okay. It is for those of you, for people that are familiar with the typical high school tournament, Hammond High School puts their 14 guys out there into this event, and you do the best you can within your weight class, and you earn points for your team and the team standings. That's the same concept here, except that you can have multiple team members in the same age and weight, the same weight class, but only the highest placer earns points. So we have I think it's 35 teams, 35 clubs registered with USA Wrestling for the state of Maryland. And we had initially the idea was that if you're a club, you can have members. Most of your members are going to be from Maryland, but you could have somebody from over the line. Like up in my neck of the woods, we're 6 miles from the Pennsylvania line, and those people that are right over the line that go to Kennerdale High School or Solanco, they may have to drive another hour to get to a club because they got to go to York or Harrisburg. Well, we're right in their backyard. So having a club in Bel Air that has members from Fawn Grove, Pennsylvania, I mean, that sort of thing, it's not unusual. The problem came in that some people on occasion, because they need to win these things, will go and recruit Young Guns or Angry Fish or whatever, people from all over to come down for one event to represent their team so they can win. And not that everybody would do that, or that
like
anybody
who's done those sorts of things in the past. Let's call them out.
I would say that when I was running Hartford Grapplers, Orange Crush, and I can't remember who the other one was, but I know Orange Crush was one of them. They were signing people up as they're walking in the door. If they came in unattached, they're like, "Hey, you wrestle for me." And there was no rule saying you couldn't do it. So why not? I just didn't know it didn't.
That seems like something Brad would do.
Wait, so I'm lost. Like, so you're not allowing those clubs to compete, or what's the?
No, you can't compete if you don't live in Maryland, right?
We have it set up. We're building the tournament now, and you can only register if you have a Maryland address. If you're a Maryland wrestler, that's the only way you can register, and you have to be affiliated with a club. Mm-hmm. So if you joined USA Wrestling for this year and it asked you for your club and you didn't put anything down, you had till November 1 to have a club, to become affiliated with the club, or you compete in the event. No unaffiliated wrestlers.
And look, I mean, I think the way you described it is correct. It's, hey, this is sort of like a club invitational, so, and you have to have your club chartered and you have your team, and every Maryland club is invited to it. And I think the out-of-state thing is, I think honestly, like, I didn't really care about it. I understand if you're a board or club and you have members from out of state. I think this year, though, like, it seems like the numbers are going to be kind of limited. So, you want to do – the MSWA wants to do everything they can to support, Maryland wrestlers and not –
Maryland folks first.
Right, but has this been a problem? Because, like, it's not like –
well, this thing is new. This thing is new, so –
right.
It's been a problem because people saw that in the past there was some recruiting of people from way out of state. It's hard
sure. No, I mean, you go to any national tournament and it's like the teams that are winning it have kids from 14 different states competing at it. I didn't know. That's. I mean, I don't think that's being. I would hope that's not being done for this event or anything like that.
Some people were afraid that it would be.
Oh, okay.
So we
All
wanted
right.
to limit it to Maryland kids only. It
Cool.
was a source
Okay.
of contention, especially, so what we took so I'm trying to be as transparent and open. And at the end of the day, we're here to serve the membership. So if the membership, and then also the coaches, I think the coaches get shortchanged. You guys, and what I used to do, we spend a lot of time and energy and our own money and everything else to do what we think is the right thing. And we don't get all that much support. And a lot of times you get fed you eat what you get fed. You don't have any choices on the menu. So this time I wanted to say, hey, what would you guys like to see in this event? How would you like to do it? Now we have restrictions because we can't just have, a 64-man bracket. We don't have the ability to put down 12 mats and just have this big, come one, come all thing. So we had to figure out how could we do this thing within certain guidelines. And at the end of the day, we're going to wind up excluding somewhere in the neighborhood of about 150, roughly 15% of the current Maryland USA Wrestling members will not be eligible or not be available to get into the event because of the guidelines, the number, the limitations of the guys we can have in there each day. And we're doing it in such a way, we're doing it similar to what they did in Utah, which is we'll have something in the neighborhood of about like 110 to 120 wrestlers in like a 2-hour window. We'll come in and wrestle on formats. Then the next group will come in. After that group leaves, the next group comes in. Wrestle their match. And we'll do that until the day is done. And I can't remember how the breakdown is, but Saturday is one group, Sunday is another group. Monday is high school, but we're looking at the registration numbers. We might be able to do the high school over the weekend. And that Armageddon thing that people keep talking about to replace the Beast of the East, don't hold your breath on that because they've got the powers that be in Utah and Pennsylvania working against them on that event. They don't want to see that event.
Well, that event's Friday and Saturday, right? So theoretically,
that event might get shut down because people don't want to see tyrants doing what they're doing.
Well, and we talked about this, I think, before we hit record, is that this won't conflict with the new high school season, the public school season, which is supposed to practice is supposed to begin on the 7th of December. Competitions don't begin until January. Is that it? So, and this is,
yes.
Yeah. So this is still considered sort of preseason. Your public school practice might have started, but events, you're not representing your school in this event. You're representing a club, and the competition season hasn't even started yet. So, I mean, maybe your high school, coach doesn't want you to compete in it or whatever, but, you're allowed to and won't, there's no, risk in doing so.
So when we get everybody registered, then we'll figure out when certain weight classes will go. In other words, day one is what we had to get off the word elementary school and go to group one because this elementary threw people into a tailspin. The whole word is too much to grasp. So group one has, let's say, 15 weight classes. Well, we'll divide those classes up into 3 groups, maybe 4, but more than likely 3 groups. And it won't be like 70, 80, 90, 100. It might be 70, then 110, then 130, or whatever it takes to hit a number that Shawn and I and so on feel is manageable within a 2 to 3 hour window, so we can get them in, get that done, get them out, and get them down the road and get the next group in.
And it's going to be like first round, second round, semis, finals, like all just one.
When I was first started helping with Junior League, we went to a thing up in up in Bucks County, near Philly, and it was called the Rock and Roll Rapid Fire Round Robin. They had rock and roll music going. You wrestled all your matches in 2 hours. You wrestled 5 matches in 2 hours. It was awesome. They were in, they were out, they were down the road, man. And as a coach, I mean, I had track shoes on, fortunately. Otherwise, you don't sit, you don't go to the bathroom, you don't do anything. This could be very similar. And hey, what's wrong with it? Everybody's held to the same standard.
No, and look, jiu-jitsu tournaments have run that way for years, where a weight class shows up and they do the entire weight class all the way first round through the finals, and then the next weight class will come onto the mat.
They're going to keep team scores for the elementary, the middle, and the high school.
So we're going to have an award for the best club at the group 1, best club at group 2, best club at group 3, best club overall. Add them all together.
Overall, okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I don't think you got to worry about Orange Crush recruiting, because I didn't even see them on the list.
They are not on the list. So
Yeah.
Jason
hates Orange Crush is what it is.
I didn't say that.
I said that. I said Jason hates Orange Crush.
I just didn't.
Hey, for the record, I never had a problem with it. I just, like I said, it's like you're allowed to do it. They're doing it. I didn't know we could do that. But anyway.
Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to take kids that aren't your kids? You know what I mean?
Well, how many
just to inflate your ego or something like that? Just to win. You know what I mean? It's like I said, it doesn't surprise me.
So what we talked about the club championships and the showcase. Anything else on the horizon that MSWA
Can I finish up with one thing about the club championships? Okay,
sure.
About the who's the favorite? Okay, so we've never done anything at the high school level in the folk style. It's always been juniors, and typically Warhawks runs away with it with Rampage, Wolfpack, Maniacs, and I'm not leaving that out intentionally, are fighting for third or fighting for second. Now you throw high school in there, becomes a different animal. Now I got to imagine that I looked at the other day. I unfortunately just don't recognize a bunch of names, but the Warhawks went from 25 guys up to like 40, up to like 65 guys pretty quick. So I would imagine they got a lot of high school kids in there that are probably pretty good kids. And unfortunately, like I said, I don't recognize names because I'm a little bit far removed from it. But I know the Mavericks have got, they got Gorglianis as 2 of them, and they got Rivera, and so on and so forth. And then you got the girls in there. So I think it's going to be very interesting. And it's not going to be just a foregone conclusion Warhawks are going to win. It's like we were saying earlier, if you got 5 guys that win from the same club, maybe you don't have anybody else that places, and you're going to be in the hunt because you got 30-some clubs vying for a chance at it. I just think it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and bottom line is it's going to be an event in Maryland that isn't up 3 hours away in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, or whatever. So I think it's going to be cool. I think the other thing people are probably kind of curious about, just to touch on, if you have any more updates, is just the traditional MSWA age weight states that are usually at the end of February. I know, with the high school season being weird, you had talked about, adding a high school division to that thing, or is that still up in the air?
Well, it's up in the air to the extent that we haven't been able to pin down a venue. I have a verbal agreement with Hartford Community College to have our junior state tournament, which if we added high school to it, we would have to add a day. We could do that. The problem
that's usually 2 days though already.
Well, it was going to be a third day, which would be high school.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the problem is that I can't confirm. They won't give me a contract right now because they're not back up and running open for business. Although the lady that runs the show over there says, I think we'll be able to do it, but I can't say for sure. So we're looking at other venues. The Civic Arena in Salisbury is making me a little crazy. Part of the reason I'm going to Ocean City this weekend is to check out that facility, which I was in there a million years ago, but it's been a long time, and I just want to see what's up. Because personally, I would like to do something that's high quality in terms of giving the wrestling public what they want, and that includes parents and grandparents that are sitting in the bleachers. I don't want them getting an aluminum bleacher butt from being up there all day long. If they could be in theater seating like they were at the show place, nice and comfortable, bunch of
but Waddy, it's COVID time, man. just having the event is going to be a win in my
Yeah,
opinion.
we can't all, you know,
You know what I mean?
We
Just
can't all
having an
go hang
event,
out
and
on
if you
the.
could add high school, like they're going to
Look
have
at-
to deal. They're going to have to
Look
deal.
at Waddy. He
think-
just wants to hang out by palm trees on the beach by the waves and
But
all
think
that.
about this for a
You
second.
know,
If we could do it at the Civic Arena in Salisbury, where you had that seating, okay, you've got that seating at the upper level, okay, or do we do it in a warehouse where you had to bring expandable seating, and the numbers, the cost works out to be about the same? I'm going to go for the Civic Arena.
Well, yeah, but you also might have, you know, you might not be able to allow everyone in. You know, the Ocean City, you know, the Ocean City tournament this weekend is the same deal. You can have one parent per wrestler enter, and then the coaches. So if you have to do something like that, then you know the seating arrangement might not be that big of a deal.
That's not an issue. But again, see, we've got what is this now? Early November. So we're looking, and the timing is another factor. But we're looking at the end of February, so we got a lot of time, and hopefully right after the first of the year, that we'll be able to fill in these gaps. At the very least, there's going to be an event. It'll be somewhere. We've got two potential options that are both warehouse type situations. Okay, that I'm not saying yes or no. It's not going to be up to me anyways, because it'll be up to the board. But I'd be nice to come back to the board with a handful of different scenarios. And again, I would like to have a quality event with quality awards. I hear the high school coaches complaining all the time. Man, you just get a piece of paper, or they don't only place them out to fourth, or whatever. There's no team title. Hey, look, I can give you all that. And we can do the whole thing in one day if we don't follow the federation's, 45-minute rule and 5 matches in a day. Nobody else follows those rules.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you add a high school, I mean, it sounds like it could be really good timing with that proposed season would be ending, I think, the middle of February.
Yeah, we were hoping to do it at the end of February.
Yeah, so if you had, the official, because what I'm hearing is it sounds like maybe the public schools are only going to have like maybe a county tournament, only in county competition, maybe ending with a county tournament. And then you would have 2 weeks before this event. So it's sort of the same sort of time frame that you would have, maybe you have some qualifiers or maybe it's completely open. But I think the timing could work out really well. Now, whether
now we might have national preps as a factor also.
Whatever. Screw those
hey, look,
kids, man.
I gotta tell you, and then not to be any one way or the other, but if we can't do this for the privates and the publics, then we'll probably just stick with what we've been doing.
Yeah. No, I think, yeah.
Those public school kids are going to have to get a USA Wrestling membership. And look, I'm just going to tell you how I feel. Most of public school kids are not going to do anything that causes them to pay anything. That incurs a cost.
Well, I mean,
everything given to them.
Yeah, in this scenario, though, it's like, hey, you gotta. I mean, if you want to compete, you got to do it. The costs are not that much, I think, and you can fundraise for that. But, it's the elite kids, I think, will show up, barring, like you said, any conflicts with like national preps or something like that.
Well, we're going to circle back on it, and it's a fluid situation. I really can't do anything at this point. There's no point in trying to commit to a venue without some of these other questions answered. And all of our options are not on the table yet, but they will be after the first. And another thing that's coming up is we have the Mason-Dixon event. The Mason-Dixon, which is typically, Pennsylvania, Jersey, Virginia, and Maryland junior team get together and to have a quad meet. And, Maryland won it for the first time in 25 years, I think it is, the year before last. Last year we got second. Well, this year, it looks like they're taking things a little more seriously, like Pennsylvania is taking a little bit more seriously. We beat Pennsylvania pretty easy the last 2 years. The year before last, it came down, it was a dogfight with New Jersey. Last year, New Jersey got the upper hand by a couple points. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this year. So that's coming up on the Sunday, I believe, after the first year, like January 3rd, I think it is. So we got a couple things going on. We're just trying to stay relevant and do what we can.
January
And
4th.
stay in our lane also.
Very cool. No, I like it. Looks like, you know, in times like this, it's important people step up and you know, talking to two guys that certainly have stepped up in a big way, bringing us a huge event. Less than 10 days now from the time that we're recording. So
what jumps out at me are some of the names of kids that are, you know, like the younger brother of Baby J. Sir Bannister is wrestling Ryan Oler. I don't know if these guys are in high school or junior. I think they're probably still junior league.
Those are all high school.
no, they're high school kids. Yeah,
Okay.
Oler's one of the
Okay.
greatest guys.
You got Mackay Neal.
The
who
first
is-
9 are junior league.
Mackay Neal, I think, is a ninth grader now, and he is a badass. And Brogan Keeley, now he's not a ninth grader, but he's a badass. He's a Western Maryland kid. That should be very interesting because Mackay Neal pretty well lights up everybody I've ever seen him wrestle.
Is he wrestling Athey also?
Yeah. So he's wrestling
Is that-
18 now.
wow.
Brogan.
Oh yes, stepping up, wrestling a 2-time state place winner, 1-time finalist. That's you know, that's cool to see him right out the gate coming at somebody, you know, of Athey's caliber. That's going to be
I've got
great.
Ryan Athey against Jabril Muhammad.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's
No.
my fault. But yeah, Brogan, you know, it's Southern Garrett kid, tough kid. I think he's made the state podium as well. So, no, that's real cool. Now, what's Muhammad's story? Do you guys know much about him?
I don't.
No?
I'll tell you another one. Joe Fisk against Amadre Wooden. Now, wasn't Wooden? He's a freshman this year, isn't he?
He was a freshman last year. So Amadre is one of my kids. Fisk was the I tell you, they wrestled last year in a dual meet where Owens Mills wrestled Spalding, and it came down to the wire. Fisk ended up getting it, beating him by a point. But Amadre went up on him early. Fisk came back, went up by a point with about a minute left. Amadre just couldn't close the gap, but was biting at it. So, you know, super excited. Amadre's been working really hard for that one. Definitely on a personal level, that's one that I'm looking forward to, you know, with my guy out there. But, you know, it's going to be a great match.
So, Mackin, are you going to leave the commentary booth to coach Amadre during the event?
That kid doesn't listen to me anyway. What am I going to do for him? No, he's been working a lot with Justin Wildy, who runs the women's program, who's also a guest that we've had on the program before. So I think Justin's going to be handling the coaching for that one. Hopefully I'll be able to keep it together and well, I don't want to say stay professional because it's not like we get paid for this, but you know what I mean? Like, keep my composure during it and do the job I have to do while I'm there.
Well, one of the other things we can't overlook is are the honorary coaches, let's say, for each team. One being Dan Rickard, the other one being Cornell Bass, who a lot of the people that tune in to watch this will not know who Cornell Bass is, but because Cornell's an older guy, he's probably got to be close to 70 now or his late 60s. But he's a fixture at things. When you guys were growing up, Cornell was at everything.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
He wrestled at Poly, then he wrestled for Clarion, and he's had a handful of different roles within just in the wrestling community. And he was sort of the media guy forever for the MSWA and Wrestling USA magazine and so on. And then of course you got Dan Rickard, and you don't need to say much about him. Everybody knows who Dan is. So
if you don't, you can check out. You can check out
our
our most popular podcast, which is with Dan Rickard. I think it's episode 5, maybe. Go back and check that. It's up to almost 2,000 views, I think.
So there's a lot of this could be, you know, between you guys and I think I'm helping out somehow on the mic, and then you got Kramer Whitelaw is going to do the Michael Buffer role, and then catch guys off the side and do a little post match interview. I mean, I feel it feels like, you know, I play off of the confidence that Hamper exudes. Hamper makes it sound like this is a home run.
Yeah, he makes a lot of stuff sound like that too, though. No, I'm confident. You sent around the production thing, and it's legit. You know, hey man, let's make it happen. I mean, as long as the internet works, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I have pretty high quality internet in there, so it should be good.
Well, I think what we need to remember is, as long as this isn't the last time we do this, and we're going to have less restrictions in the future, you know, it's like anything else. You learn from your mistakes and then you improve it the next time around. Nothing really ever goes off perfectly, unfortunately. And that's, you know, hopefully the hiccups go unnoticed by the general public and only the people kind of in the know about them. But it is the type of thing you can build. And each year it seems like we're stepping this event up more and more and more every year. I'm really excited for it. I think this is the fourth one. Is that right, Waddy?
Yes.
It is.
We had two in Pullman, one in Spalding, and then this one.
Yep. Yeah. And it's, you know, definitely going to be a great time. I hope everybody can check it out. It is Saturday, November 14th. What's the start time on that, guys?
5:30.
5:30 p.m. kicking it off. Also, before we cut it, Shawn talked a little bit earlier about having an intermission for the Johnny Erickson Award. Can you talk a little bit about the Johnny Erickson Award? Something I've heard about for a long time. I've known of it. It's been around forever, but you know, don't really know what goes into it. So can you talk about that a little bit, and maybe even this year's recipient?
Well, the Johnny Erickson Award, I characterize it, and I got slapped on the wrist for it. I characterize it as a lifetime service to wrestling, because that's what I'm aware of through the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. And the reality of it is that lifetime service to wrestling does not do Johnny Erickson's service to wrestling justice. He was like the Johnny Appleseed of wrestling. The guy wrestled at a competitive level. He wrestled competitively back when club wrestling was basically what everybody did. You know, the colleges had their programs, but then you went to the clubs before, so you go to the AAU so you could get a chance to be on the Olympic team. But this guy was, again, like I said, the Johnny Appleseed of wrestling, and he did it around here. He started around here. He was the godfather of wrestling to a lot of people that were coaches that you guys knew when you were junior league wrestlers that got out of the game by the time you got to high school. They're just names you know now. But he was a great guy, and he did a lot of things for a lot of people. His story is documented in the little booklet that we have that hopefully we'll be able to put that graphic up on the screen so people can read the story. But this year's recipient is Dwight Warren, who was I don't know if he was the founder of the McKim Wrestling Program, but he's been around almost since the beginning, and is, you know, he's coached high school, he's coached junior league, he's refereed at both levels. I think he may have refereed at the college level also. And he's just a really good guy that has done a lot for Baltimore City kids. And he's deserving. The Erickson Award will be presented by Haswell Franklin, who was chairman of the MSWA for something like 30 years and is another really good guy, a fixture. Everybody knows Haswell. Everybody over, say, 25 knows Haswell, because he's 87 years old now. He's not around as much anymore, but he'll be there to present the award, and it'll be a 2 or 3 minute thing, and then we'll get on to the featured matches.
And just so people know that when we talk about the Franklin Fall Showcase, Haswell Franklin is who's being referred to in the title there.
Haswell Franklin has been the benefactor of so many things that you just, you know, he does it quietly, and he doesn't want his name on things. But I just said, okay, you don't want your name on it, but guess what? Your name's on it. And he was like, okay.
Okay.
Right. Well, very good. Awesome. Before we let you guys get out of here, is there anything else that you guys want to talk about, or any other matches you want to discuss that are on the event, or are we just going to wait till November 14th?
Let's wait. Let's let everybody tune in and see it, and it should be here soon.
Cool. Jason, anything else on your end, buddy?
Nah, man. Thanks for making the time to do this, Mackin. I know you're.
Yeah, you're so full of shit. I appreciate everybody checking us out. Saturday, November 14th, 6:30. The only way to see it is on Rokfin. And it's the Franklin Fall Showcase, the 4th annual event. Going to be a great time. Maryland's best wrestlers going to head-to-head. Make sure you check it out. We will see you next time. Thank you for supporting Champions That Wrestle. Take care.
See ya.